Hello guys and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me Vulcan. Today I have for you Charge versus Protosszocker in round 2 lower bracket of the 4th Asia Pacific tournament. Today on the first allied side, Charge is using the Guards Armoured, and on the second allied side we have Protosszocker with the 2nd Infantry. So we've seen Protosszocker a couple times before now, and he did well to defeat Manotha's 17th SS in round 1, but faltered to Theoman's 101st Division because he seemed to rely quite a lot on artillery and definitely slowed down his mid-game when he otherwise could have picked up the pace and really won it himself. So failed to do so and now has to show what he's worth against the Guards Armoured of Charge. Now Charge has kind of had a hard time previously. He got knocked down to the lower bracket by Chicken Jew's 15th Infantry, and that was a really hard matchup because it was like AVREs and Churchills, and there's not really too much the Guards Armoured can do about that if they lose their Fireflies like he did to the 17-pounders that Chicken Jew brought in. However, he did manage to defeat Mainson's 2nd Armoured French Division after taking advantage of the fact that Mainson didn't play very aggressive. He played more aggressive than he had previously, but not enough really to break through Charge's defence, and that led Charge to win the game later on. So now we're going to see these two players go up against each other, and early in Phase A, I believe the M4s on the side of the 2nd Infantry should have quite a nice advantage, honestly. They struggle to be penetrated by the 6-pounders the Guards Armour is going to be putting out. They'll struggle to be penetrated by the Cromwells, but all the while the Cromwells will be able to be penetrated by the M4. So for example, in this case, Charge is bringing in a Cromwell 4, and that has the 7 front armour, whereas a M4 has 11 AP, so that's easily going to penetrate. Well, not easily, it'll be about a 50% chance. But the 10 front armour on the front of the M4 is going to be really hard for the Cromwell 4 to penetrate. So that's immediately an advantage on that side of things. When it comes to infantry, 2nd Infantry definitely wins out in this matchup. Motorised rifles and rifles from the Guards Armoured really aren't going to cut it against the specialised close range infantry of the 2nd Infantry. Of course, there are Ranger Assaults, you've got Ranger Marauders, Ranger Supports, all of the Ranger units in Phase A for the 2nd Infantry that can really put the pain onto the Guards Armoured. And I therefore feel like Protosszocker should get an advantage early on in the town at least. But let's have a look at some of the units going down. So on the top side here we can see some rifles. There's going to be a Ranger Leader and an AT gun for the very top. For the mid it's going to be a mortar, rifles and rifle leader, or the Ranger Leader. There's going to be some Ranger Marauders there as well. Rifles a little bit further down. We've got some Ranger Supports on the very bottom with a rifle squad and the M4DD. On the side of Charge, he has a Humber Mark III for the top with an AT gun and the Vickers HMG. For the mid, he's got 1 unit of motorised rifles, 2 units of rifles, Cromwell 4. Then further down, he's got 2 units of rifles, the 6-pounder and the Humber Mark III. So these Humber Mark IIIs can probably do a lot of work where there is not either an AT gun or an M4, but you can see that Protosszocker has his bases covered, so those Humber 3s are going to be finding it hard to break through. I think what's going to be interesting though is Protossocker's sort of take on this mid fight. I'm surprised not to see Ranger Assaults, honestly, because they could definitely solidify his position down here. The town being the way it is though, on Pegasus Bridge here, it does make it hard for the 100-meter range engagement infantry to make ground without being hit by fire support. But the way it's gone so far, Charge already ceding 3% land to Protosszocker, and that is not good. Not good at all. +1 on the board. On this top side, I feel like maybe Charge could have been a little bit more aggressive with the Humber Mark III. I feel like it's very hard for like anyone to get an AT gun into these tree lines early on, and therefore the Humber Mark III can really take advantage of that. But it looks like Protosszocker invested in an M5 gun. If that makes its way to this side, it could really, you know, hamper any pushes on that top side, and Protosszocker even makes it more ground. Now this time around, Protosszocker has chosen to bring in the 107mm mortar. That is going to start putting the pain onto the rifles here, but no casualties just yet. On the bottom side, this M4 is kind of sitting back, and honestly not too much aggression on both sides. The Cromwell 4 is now getting involved. That is fire positioning the church. But considering Charge hasn't seen anything there yet, I think that's a bit of an odd choice to do. But whilst there is only rifles here and not Ranger assaults, the Cromwell 4 could definitely be used to make some ground if Charge notices. That's what I'd like to see. Well, we do have a fire position here from the Cromwell 4 onto these rifles. Rifles are going to be forced to fall back. Interesting prediction there. 107mm mortar is going to be finding these motorised rifles in the field thanks to the Ranger Marauders. But so far, you know, an easy lead for Protosszocker. This +1 that he's counting up is actually a really nice sort of cushion for him moving on in this game. Mortar has started to do a little bit of damage. We can see, however, a M1 gun on the way, and that will be looking for the kill onto the Cromwell 4 here. Both players playing very slow though to start off, and I mean there is the choice on the side of Charge maybe to go for something like a Cromwell 7. That's the one with the 7 armor, or no, the 7, what am I saying, 7? 11 AP and 11 armor, that can really like put the pain onto a lot of these like M1 guns and M4s. Like a Cromwell 7 could actually break through on this bottom side possibly if it forced back the M4. It depends on how the engagement went and how many shots each side hit, because it would be two unvetted tanks going up against each other. But just in general, like a Cromwell 7 would be a really nice choice to sort of void a lot of the AP values that Protosszocker has access to. On this top side, the M5 gun, that can definitely do a lot of damage. It does have the 14 AP, and therefore is a big threat. But yeah, just so far, not too much going on. Protosszocker just trying to soften up a few units here and there with a 107mm mortar, bringing in a couple more Ranger Marauders now. And I do like the sort of Ranger Marauder choice here, actually. The good thing that Protosszocker is doing is he's developing his front line quite nicely, especially with the addition of Recon. Since Recon sort of allows you to plan a lot better where you want to push, and also gives targets to his 107mm mortar. So although he's playing it slow, he does still control the +1. And that's something that he's looking to just hold on to for the time being until he can get enough units to make a considerable push somewhere. I'm assuming that's what both players are kind of thinking right now. Let's take it slow, just maybe try and make some ground somewhere later on when we have the bigger units on the field. So the 6-pounder here, going to be engaging the M4DD, forcing that back a little. No harm done though. 10 front armor, bouncing plenty of those shots. We do see some AA coming into the top side in the form of the Bofors. Maybe Protosszocker is going to be looking for some airstrikes up here. If he can spot the 6-pounder, then he can definitely make that happen. So far he cannot see it. He can, however, see these Recce, which is a nice advantage to have. Can Charge see the Recce on the other side? No, he cannot. So if Protosszocker that now takes care of this Recce, that's going to blind Charge on the top side, really give him the initiative up there. And he is bringing a mortar, I think, to get things done. And now the rifle's also coming up as well. Now in the mid here, you can see the rifles have tried to pin these motorized rifles once again. Stuart 6 and the M5 half-track trying to get involved. Stuart 6 not very effective though at that range with its 1HE. Really needs to get its 330 cals on target if it wants to do some serious damage or pin that infantry very much. M1 gun though, oh, this is a nice push here from Protosszocker. Slowly but surely been developing his front line. Now pushing forwards, this M1 gun is going to find the kill onto the Cromwell 4. Very nice kill indeed. That is going to free up some space for his infantry to make ground, especially if his 107mm mortar is going to continue to pin down this infantry. So a very important kill there for Protosszocker. Let's see if he tries to move up some more infantry here with that gone to try and make some ground. Now these rifles will kind of cover his advance, but there isn't really too much to be worried about on the side of the rifles and the Guards Armoured, since they only have 2 HE on their Bren gun. Whereas the rifles, on the other hand, have like 3 HE on the BAR, and when you get into the 300 meter range, that's going to be 8 HE on target as opposed to the 4 HE that the rifles can put out from the Guards Armoured. Now 25 pounder has been purchased from Charge. He's going to be trying to dislodge or kill off some of these M1 guns. On the top side, the Ranger Mortar is mortaring the Recce. Needs to kind of find a direct hit though in order to get the kill. And the longer that those Recce get RT'd, the more likely it is Charge is going to notice and pull them back, and then Protosszocker will lose his sort of chance to blind charge on that top side. Because as soon as he does, you know, that's going to open the opportunity to maybe bring in a mortar that can take care of the 6 pounder. Like this Ranger Marauder should eventually spot that if it hasn't already. But the other thing about that Ranger Marauder is it might be able to find a kill onto the Humber Mark III at some point. Now on this bottom side, M4DD has gotten into an interesting position to engage the Stuart 6. But with this 6 pounder showing itself, will that get pinned down in time? The 50 cal has opened up, and you can see since the 6 pounder missed and the M4 is so well armoured, that 6 pounder is just instantly pinned and is going to take quite a lot of damage, especially with the 81mm mortar coming down on top of it as well. M4DD here is being engaged by the 6 pounder at the same time as being engaged by the Stuart 6. This is a very dangerous position for the M4DD, especially if the 6 pounder recovers, but the 81mm mortar did get an accurate shot twice in a row and managed to find the kill. Really, really good job there by Protosszocker. Now he's just going to be looking to stop this Stuart from forcing him back, and the 81mm mortar even does that as well. Fantastic stuff. So Protosszocker found the important kill in the mid. I'm surprised that he's not like developing more there by taking more ground. I feel like his rifles match up very well, so there's not really much reason not to just get a little bit aggressive with those if you know that the fire support is dead. I think he also knows the positioning of the Stuart, so his infantry is out of line of sight of that kind of machine gun fire at the moment, and therefore moving them forwards would not be such a bad idea. But with the arrival of an M4DD, that does make things a lot safer, and I definitely like the choice of unit here. He can basically move the M4DD, support it with the M1 guns, and he will almost be never overwhelmed by firepower as he continues to move forwards. Now how does Charge deal with this? Well, Protossocker's Ranger Marauders here managed to kill off Charge's Recce, so that's a nice job, taking out the recon on the bottom side. The Recce on the top did end up falling back, so Protosszocker missed his opportunity to kill those off. But he's still got the +1. But yeah, how does Charge deal with this? He's going to be bringing up the Firefly. Really good choice, actually. The Firefly is perfect for trying to take care of the M4DDs. If he can kill off these M4DDs, he can then work with his Cromwell 6 in order to remove the AT guns in a more open area. But that's what he's got to do. He's got to have these come down to either the bottom or maybe on this sort of top side area, and he's got to find those AT guns and he's got to kill them with the Cromwell 6. If he does not, then the Firefly is in a bit of a precarious position as it tries to push through up here. On the bottom side it's not so bad, because as soon as you break through these trees it's very open, and the Firefly could absolutely dominate the 2nd Infantry until the 3-star M10s start coming in. But even then, the Firefly still has the advantage of having way more armour. So I feel like that's a good option for charge, but instead, yeah, the Firefly and Cromwell 6 are moving to the top side. That's fine. He's just got to make sure that his recon's in the right position, and so far Charge's recon is doing pretty well. It has spotted this M1 gun, and he is starting to work on taking that out. M4DD on this bottom side has been forced back again. This 6-pounder was engaging it for a rather long time. Mortar's going to be engaging the infantry down here. Ranger support's opening up onto motorized rifles. The M1 gun will probably get away. I don't think the Cromwell 6 is going to kill it. No, instead just going to one-shot the Bofors. Very nice kill there. So yeah, this combination, it can still work in the location that he's put it. But I feel like he's probably going to need maybe even a second Cromwell 6 here, or just more HE fire support in order to break through any AT guns that do eventually flank him. Because the worst part about pushing through like sort of the mid-top is that you can be flanked from both the top and the mid as you sort of push through this area with your tanks, which it looks like he wants to do. Whereas if you do it on the bottom side, I mentioned it before, there is the extremity of the edge of the map, so you know that there is only like so many places that an AT gun can be if you try and break through here instead. So the 25-pounder, that is looking to take out this M5 gun. The M5 gun has been revealed. This HE was not turned off, but I'm pretty sure the Recce would probably spot it anyway. 25-pounder immediately going to be trying to take care of that, because that is a big threat to the Firefly and the Cromwell 6 moving forwards. Those M5 guns can do a lot of damage. Now, Charge is going to have to look out for more of those as he continues throughout the game, but as long as he fire positions correctly with the Cromwell 6s, keeps up his artillery fire, maybe brings in a sexton or two, he should be okay to continue advancing onto Protosszocker at this point. And a really nice kill there from the 25-pounder, killing off that M5 gun. So that takes away the AT threat from the top side, or at least one of the AT threats. He's still obviously got to keep an eye out for the rest. There's still the M4 in the town that he knows about. And this M1 gun is on the dreaded 1 HP. Can it get the kill? It's firing at the Stuart. Stuart can break the line of sight quite easily. What is this Cromwell 6 doing? That has got to be very careful. You do not want a Cromwell 6 in a 1,000 meter range engagement with an AT gun. That is bad news. Bad news indeed. And the M1 gun gets off a shot. Please fire position. Yes, he is. Okay, good. And that's going to do the job. M1 gun down. The threat of the 1 health AT gun is gone. Okay. The 6-pounder fires away at the CGMC, reveals itself. It's going to take a little bit of damage there, but we'll maybe get out in time. Yeah, did manage to fall back. Stuart 6 down here has been forced back as well. Infantry is not lasting too well down here as Protosszocker moves forwards with his own. This bottom side is looking pretty weak, especially with the eggs from Charge all being put in one basket in the mid here. M5 gun has arrived. Is that a new M5 gun, or did I just not see that die? Or like, did I think I saw that die but then it didn't? I'm not sure. But either way, the Cromwell 6 has done the job there, which is nice. Down to 4 health. A few more shots will get the job done, unless it falls back out of line of sight. But this M4 DD is in a scary position for this Firefly right now, I'll tell you that much. Can Harris take out the M4DD? Also, can this Cromwell 6 finish off the AT gun before it becomes a 1 health AT gun that it has recovered? I'm not so sure. But anyway, Protosszocker starting to make ground on this bottom side. The 6-pounder is dead. We also saw, I think, like a dingo or something go down here. Rifles are being pushed back. So focused on this push. This M5 gun, it has managed to fall back in between the buildings, blocking the line of sight there. But one way to deal with that, obviously get the fire position on the go. M5 half-track has been engine destroyed. M1 guns opening up. Does manage to find the kill onto the Stuart, is going to be pinned down soon after, and it under the fire from the Crusader AA as well. Takes quite a lot of damage, but still 2 health. M5 guns recovering on the top side. Protosszocker making ground on the bottom. Now Charge is going to be bringing in what looks like, I think that's a 17 pounder. So looking for that engagement on the bottom side. Harris has engaged the M4DD. 2 shots and the job is done. Nice work. Now just got to be very careful of this M5 gun, which has opened up once again, this time onto his Jeep. Charge could just fire position this. If he just fire positions slightly past that building, he can get that kill. He is going for it. Whether or not that's going to hit the mark, I'm not so sure. It's a little bit short. So mortar fire coming down onto that half track. Not convinced about that. That 107mm mortar immediately coming under counter battery from the Sexton and the 25 pounder. That's really good actually. Really quick reactions there from Charge to fire back at that 107. And on the bottom side, the 17 pounder does the job. M4DD goes down. But Protosszocker still has the ground. He still has the infantry in position. He's still pushing a +2 at this point. And the M1 gun, it's not the 1 health AT guns that are doing the work, it's the 2 health. And that internal fragments the Cromwell 6. That's all he needs to do. Take away that unit from supporting the Firefly. And now that Firefly is going to be in the face of 2 M5 guns and an M1 gun. Especially if this Cromwell 6 goes down to those M5 guns. Coming back with a vengeance. And there's even a 3rd M5 gun on the way. Oh, yep. The M1 gun with the 1 health gets the kill, of course. So where does that leave us? Well, this Ranger Marauder is sneaking forwards here. Not sure that Charge is going to allow that to happen, but it does force the M1 gun, or force the Harris back into the M1 gun, and with the artillery coming down as well, this M1 gun is surely going to get the kill there. It's got plenty of time. Yes, Harris goes down. Huge kills for Protosszocker. The Cromwell 6 is dead, the Firefly is dead. Now Protosszocker can really take control of this game. So the M1 gun here is going to be taking on the Humber Mark III. That's moved into line of sight. Easy kill there. These M5 guns really did work. Finally the 1 health AT gun dies. This M5 gun going to be continuing to fire away. 25 pounders are not quite on target just yet. With the introduction of Assault Pioneers, that is a HE power grenade that can demolish rifle squads and does get the job done. Now it's going to be really up to this Sherman 5, but yeah, pushing through this top side was absolutely futile for Charge. He didn't really utilize what could have been the open ground on the bottom side, and instead kind of led himself into a position where he could be shot from all sides. And that's never really where you want to be with your powerful units. Especially when you invest so many points into those. So the Cromwell 6 is like 120 points, 110 points. And then the Firefly's at 210. So that's a lot of points to lose in a very short space of time there. To Protosszocker reacting with the M5 guns, which is perfect choice. There isn't really too much that the Guards armor can do about that with their limited availability of artillery. Now they do of course have quite a lot of sections they can bring in, but it's not something you often see the Guards armored focus on. And we are into phase C, and artillery is just going to be used here to try and pin down rifles as Charge tries to advance, but with the M2A1 howitzers getting involved, it's really going to stop that infantry from taking the ground. They honestly might take a lot of damage in the process. So Protosszocker just trying to make it as hard as possible at the moment for Charge to advance, and without his 2nd Cromwell 6 there and the Firefly, it's going to be very hard to, but more than that, he needs more infantry if he really wants to make a concerted effort into the town, and going half-hearted into a town in Steel Division never really works out very well. And we can see that the Sherman 5 did get a track wheel damage. The M1 gun there managed to sneak through a nice shot and definitely slow the effectiveness of that Sherman. Motorized rifles clean up some range and marauders there, taking away some recon from Protosszocker. He's going to want to replace that on the bottom side if he wants to continue to use this M4DD. Because he can't really afford to throw anything into this 17 pounder. He already lost one M4DD to it. We can see that Charge has brought this back only to a +1. But with 1,645 points in his favour, Protosszocker is in a dominating position right now. And I feel like it's going to be very hard for Charge to come back unless he makes a very dedicated push to this bottom side with the Fireflies he has remaining and the Cromwell 6s. Like, that's the only real way that he can push through, especially knowing that how many like M5 guns came to this top side. 6 pounder here, that's going to be engaging the M4DD. Does get the driver knockout. Whether or not he gets the kill remains to be seen. It's the bottom side I'm more worried about. The Stuart 6 actually gets weapon jammed by the M4 here and does get killed off. M5 half-tracks are kind of just sitting ducks at the moment. I'm surprised that Charge is not unloading this infantry. It looks like they were forced unloaded in the end. M4DD is going to retreat from the top side. M5 gun getting involved in the mid, hitting some of that infantry. But now Protosszocker is on the way with his M10. Now, one thing I do like about this sort of push that it seems that Charge is trying to build up down here is he does have the 17 pounder support, and I'd like to see maybe a second one arrive so that when these M10s inevitably do come in, he has something to counter them. That's always something you should be thinking about, like, what is my opponent going to use to try and counter my units, and what is the best unit that they have. And in this case, the 3-star M10s are just that. They are the best units I think that the 2nd Armoured can field in terms of like AP value on armoured targets. They of course have a little bit more AP on the M5 guns, but they are a little less versatile. And in this case, 25 pounder and Sexton killing off one on that top side. M10 is now engaging some of this infantry. I'm surprised that the Stuart Remies have not been unloaded again though. This infantry just needs to make the walk across the open, reveal the units that he's up against, and then really try and take advantage of that. But right now, Firefly is going to be engaging the M10. M10 is going to be way more accurate, and unless that Firefly is fully recovered, he doesn't really want to be going in for that engagement. So good job moving back there. The mortar's not helping out either with that. You can see that they did manage to pretty much pin down the Firefly there. Stuart Reamy is kind of just left in the open at the moment, sitting ducks for the M10. M2 A1 howitzers just dealing with the infantry in the mid. There's not really much ground to be made there. But yeah, losing this initiative by just allowing your units to be shot in the open is very careless from Charge. Like, all of this lot should just be attack moving at the moment forwards. And then micro the more important units like the Shermans and the Fireflies, and make sure they are spread out enough that they can't get affected by this artillery. Also, a second Firefly would be very welcome at this point. Like, pushing with just one is not great. Like, an Achilles would work well as well. But if he's going to use an Achilles, he's going to want to rely on some command as well. He does have the Sherman 5 there. I'm not sure how long that's going to last against this M10. M10's got plenty of shots on target. Also just found the track wheel damage. Also finds the bailout. What are you going to find the kill? M10 misses that shot. Sherman 5 gets out of range for the time being. On the bottom side, motorized rifles do come into the tree line. Take out some of the recon. Sherman 5 goes down. So if this was a 2-star Achilles, it might be able to make a dent into the M10s, but there's a lot of work to do here. 8 minutes and 10 seconds until Protosszocker wins. And honestly, if this Achilles or the Firefly can't get the kill onto these M10s, we're in a very, very bad position. Oh, the M10 there popping the Cromwell 6. Can he pop the Firefly? Not just yet. Artillery's coming in to try and help out. It is an open top vehicle, so it will take more suppression from artillery. Firefly does not want to be trying to take that engagement right now. Not when it's that badly affected by morale. The Achilles getting involved. Tempest is coming in with its rockets. Can it find the kill? No, it cannot. It takes way too much damage from the AA. That just basically allows or stops the Tempest from having a concentrated rocket strike. Now we see P-47 Thunderbolts coming in, and that one doesn't quite get the kill onto the Achilles, but definitely forces it back. M10 can probably fast move up the road at this point. Finds the one shot onto the Achilles. Wow, awesome shot there, and charge surrenders. That was the killing blow for sure. 27 minutes and 17 seconds it took Protosszocker to dismantle charge. Crazy, crazy stuff. This is a lower bracket game, so charge is going to be knocked out of the tournament. Sad to see him go, but Protosszocker going to be moving on to round 3 of the lower bracket now. 1,720 kills to 935 losses in his favour. Very nice indeed. So, in terms of kills from the side of charge, his 25 pounder early on was actually a really nice choice for taking care of a lot of those AT guns that he was finding issues with. Look how many kills, like AT gun kills, the 25 pounder and Sexton got between them. That's like a solid 5 there. 3 M5 guns, 2 M1 guns. Really good job. Cromwell 6s kind of underperformed. Didn't really find the kills onto significant units. Those Cromwell 6s should have been really the ones that picked up the M1 gun and M5 kills if he wanted to advance effectively with the Firefly. Now the Firefly did get the M4 in the town, but eventually just got surrounded by so many AT guns and couldn't do anything about it. The Cromwell 6 a bit further down did manage to take out the Ranger Marauders there. This Achilles only took out some rifles before it died, and that's pretty much all it was. Actually, I think that was one on the top side, so there we go. If we look over at Protossocker's kills, well, this M1 gun, 2-star veterancy, took out the Cromwell 4, the Stuart 6, and Harris. Really, really good job by this M1 gun. That is a lot of value for money right there. M4DD killed off the Humber Mark III and the 6-pounder on the bottom side. 81mm mortar also helping out there, take out the 6-pounder. This M5 gun again getting another kill. All of the M5 guns were just really difficult, it seemed, for Charge to deal with, although he had sort of the equipment to do so. Like, even if he had dealt with those units, I guess he still would have been kind of suffering for time, pushing after the fact. So there's that. Anyway, M10 beats the Achilles, takes out the Sherman 5, and that was the killing blow that won Protosszocker the victory. So, an interesting game. Protosszocker quite dominant though. And that's where I'm going to have to leave it. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.